Hi, this is Tawana Freeman with the Black Life Coaches Network, and welcome to another episode of BLC TV. Well, today's topic is Christian ministry. We have so many women and men of God who are servicing our community. We often go to them when we need help and support. However, there are things that we need to understand, that even when you are working in ministry, you really need to know where your passion point is within that ministry. And so my guest today is Pastor Sherman Scott. He is a friend of mine, known him for many years. And so I felt that I needed to bring in an area expert, someone who can answer this particular question, because him and his wife are located in Georgia, but they have a particular mission that I wanted to highlight. So welcome, Pastor Scott, to BTV.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Okay, so the name of your church is Life Changers Christian Church, correct?
That is correct.
All right, and how long have you been in ministry?
We've been in ministry. Well, we've been in ministry, it seemed like all of our life. However, we've been pastoring Life Changers Christian Church here in Atlanta, Georgia since 2007.
Okay, and so tell us a little bit about your ministry and what you all have done in the Georgia area.
Sure. Life Changers Christian Church, first of all, again, it was established in 2007 with a specific mission to change lives, strengthen families, and impact communities. And so with that, obviously, we feel a call that we've got to connect people first and foremost back to God. Secondly, back to their families. And just by progression, once you connect people to God, to their families, they will indeed have a very serious impact on their families and in their communities.
You and your wife came into your pastorship. The thing that you all sat down and I guess prayed about was what it is that you were going to do, who you were going to reach, what was your purpose. So tell me the process and how you guys came about understanding that system that you were going to put in place.
Yes, first of all, I think it's very important to understand the area in which you're called to. Prior to pastoring here in Georgia, we was in Boston, Massachusetts. I was very happy there, owned a real estate company, doing very well financially, senior associate, a pastor on staff with a very large ministry that had about 6,000 members. So we were satisfied. But then when we came to Georgia, we began to really just pray about the area that the Lord wanted us to be in. And then we had to really understand the needs of that area, because oftentimes when people come into an area, don't know the needs of the area, and they try to force themselves or their ministry on the area, and the area is really crying out for something different. And so we had to look at that. And so when we looked at that, we seen families was broken. We seen churches that was just churching, the shouting and dancing. And it goes beyond churching, because Jesus wants to deal with the whole man, not just a part of the man. He said, I've come that you might have life and that more abundantly, which is our foundational scripture, John 10:10 for our ministry. So if he come that we might have life and that more abundantly, that's beyond Sunday morning. So we have to deal with Monday. How does a prospect look on Tuesday, instead of what I call saints just churching to fix their needs, where they come and they get enough for Sunday. And then, boy, I can't wait to Wednesday. They get the wins and then they shout this. They got enough. They got that high, right, until they reach Sunday again. And the cycle repeats itself. And so therefore you have people that think systematically. You have individuals that was on the outside saying there's got to be more than God than that.
One thing I do know about you personally is that you have always worked with empowering men. You have always had a passion for the Black family. We understand that comes with who you are as a man of God and your calling in life. I understand that completely. And the fact that you have connected all of that together and understand your contributions to the community and the value of knowing what it is that you are there to do in Georgia is the reason why your church has prospered as much as it has and will continue to prosper, because you have actually identified the problem and you're there to fix the problem. Okay, so you work with the Black family and you target that and you work with the men as the head of the household. Is that accurate?
That is correct. I mean, we deal with men, and first of all, I believe that if we're going to change around where we are, and if this is going to be a paradigm shift, then there's no way to do it but to restore the man into his rightful position. Otherwise, you really are functioning in dysfunction. And I think it's no coincidence that when anyone comes in to try to dismantle or weaken a family unit, the first part they go after is the male. Remove the male, remove the protection, remove the covering, then the woman and the children is exposed. And so therefore, if we're going to build strong, viable families, then we must get the males back in the picture and rehabilitate them.
Right, and there's a lot of spiritual development as well as personal development, life skill development. That we're talking
Absolutely.
not just you being in the pulpit preaching and delivering a word from the scriptures. You are actually, in addition to that, from Bible study and active activities in the community. Tell me what else you do to help
Yeah.
build that.
Absolutely. I believe that there's three types of relationships that every person, specifically males, but every person should have in their life. I had this relationship I'm getting ready to explain to you, and that is someone pouring into you. Everyone needs someone to pour into them, to nourish them, to build them up, to tell them, no, don't do it that way. Go this way. Then you need some people on the same level with you. You need some friends that you can hang your head down with, that you can go out with. But then the third and final relationship that every man and every person needs is someone to pour into. And you're really not whole until you have those three type of relationships. Someone pouring into you, an overseer, a pastor, a father figure, someone that you're walking with, a brother figure, and then someone you're pouring into. And we see this perfect example biblically with the Apostle Paul.
Right. No, that is great information. So I want you to do me a favor and repeat those three one more time.
If someone pouring into you, you need someone to pour into you. Then you need someone that you're walking with. And then you need someone that you're pouring into.
Okay.
And it works wonderful even just in, let's take confession. I confess upward. I never confess down. I always share my problems and issues with my spiritual father, who is Bishop Alfred Owens. I never share with my brothers where I am at, because when you share with your brothers, you got to deal with, there is a competitiveness. There is people that can use it against you. And I never share down with people that I'm mentoring, because they're not prepared for it. They haven't lived, and they will get confused and get discouraged. If I begin to share what I'm going through, they say, well, Pat, if you're going through that, I don't have a chance. So I need to be able to share with someone, because I can't bottle it inside. Because one of the other areas that we fail is in the area of mental health. We need people to be able to speak with the pressures of life, with marriages. There's people that have walked this road, that have experienced it. Why not tune into and get the benefit of their wisdom? The Bible says there's safety in the multitude of counsel. Just make sure you get the right counsel.
Absolutely. And if you don't have anyone that is pouring into you, but yet you are pouring into someone else, that means that you are not a whole person as you're helping someone else.
Correct.
All right. So in the world of coaching, this is the reason why the black family or black people in the community have often sought after the clergy, your best friends, or your mom and them to be the sole individuals that will help you transition to the next level of life. So they're the ones that will tell you, give you the best advice regarding your life. They'll give you the best advice regarding your spiritual directions. Those are the three trusted sources. And so the thing is that I want to point out is that if you have all those people surrounding you and they are not whole, or they are struggling, or they don't have those three elements working in their lives, then everybody is feeding off each other and sharing the same contaminants over and over and over again. So can you give me a little insight on how you help the men of your church and the women of your church model what you just said about having those three interfaces? Because I know for sure that you walk that walk for them and in front of them. That's the point of it all. So how do you help them to do the same as they move out into the community and invest and do the exact same thing?
A great question, Twana. And I think that earlier on, for instance, I use a personal situation. Earlier on in my marriage, and this year I'll be celebrating 16 years of marriage. But earlier on, I went to a friend that didn't have someone pouring into him. And this individual really became almost destructive from a counselor standpoint because he did not have the wisdom of how to separate his desires of what he wanted. He wanted us to become adjutants to him and his wife instead of helping our marriage. And so what we did was found an older gentleman who I credit with saving my marriage earlier on, and that was Bishop Gilbert Thompson in Boston, Massachusetts. And he gave me one principle that have changed my life, and that is the power of transparency. And so what I do with individuals, I'm very transparent because someone was transparent with me. Before he began to pour into me, he exposed himself to me. He made himself human. And he did not make it seem like him and his wife had the perfect marriage forever. My grandparents, they was married for over 60 years, and God bless them as they have transitioned on. But they said they never had an argument a day in their life, and they had been married for 60 years. I couldn't relate to that because I knew I married the devil because we had so many arguments. And so I didn't know if I was sleeping with the enemy. I didn't know where I was. But it was through this principle of transparency that Bishop Gilbert Thompson taught us that he was able to free me. And so now I'm able to use that same principle. So I share and I expose, I show individuals the scars that I have. I tell them where I come from. Today even, I am in Macon, Georgia, and less than a half a mile away, I grew up in the projects at Tender Heights. I let people know where I come from. I let people know that I grew up in a broken home. I let people know that it was a struggle to get through school. And I was raised by a single mother. The only relationship that I've seen successful marriage in my years growing up was Bishop Owens and co-pastor Susie.
Absolutely.
So when people begin to see your scars, they say, I can relate to him. I can relate to that situation. He understands where I am. He understands where I'm coming from. And so as a result, they begin to open up and get the healing that they need. And then lives become transformed.
Absolutely. Very powerful, Pastor Scott. That is exactly what I knew you could deliver to our audience, because the value of everything that you said is, in just this segment alone, it has brought clarity to so many things when it comes to understanding the value of having all those people in your life now. And so you and your wife are doing a wonderful work. I appreciate the fact that you have taken the time to identify who you are called to and what problem you are solving for them, and being able to mirror, to actually be transparent, to show them what to do, the how-tos and what not to do, all that stuff. I'm so glad that you all have stepped into your calling and walking in your purpose the way you have, because I wish that there were so many more like you in ministry, and we wouldn't, if we had more and more. We know that they exist, Pastor. I know that we have more, and we don't always get a chance to talk about all the good things that pastors do. We always highlight what they don't do and what they've done wrong. But I just want to let the BLC audience know that I recognize you probably have a wonderful pastor too. But what I want you to do is to check his record and find out how he is doing what we just discussed here with Sherman. It's just a structure. It's just understanding how you can take those types of things and work it in your life. So, okay, let me get you to give some advice, let's say, to those ministers who are still have growing churches. Maybe they are just getting started. Maybe they have some questions regarding, what they should do. What are some of your best advice that you can give for the up and coming minister who is working with in his field and may not know, where to start?
Yeah, Tawana, I think one of the most valuable things a person can do is find themselves. Oftentimes, we try to mimic others. we try to become somebody else. But actually, that becomes an insult to God, because when we try to mimic someone else, what we're saying is, God, we don't believe that the individual that you've made me to be is good enough. And he is saying, it was so good, I only made one of you. So I think if you find yourself, there is a value that you have that you can leave as your signature in this earth, to say that my life counted because I fulfilled the mission that God has called me to. The second thing is to find a need and fill it. So many times we have churches in areas and we drive by individuals. For instance, if your church is in a drug-ridden area and you don't have a drug ministry, you're missing your calling. If you're in an area to where there's entrepreneurs, single family homes all around, and there are entrepreneurs there, if you don't have an entrepreneur boot camp, you're missing your calling. It's like find a need. Why are you planted where you're planted? In certain areas, things just grow. In Florida, it's oranges. So therefore, if you're planted in a certain area, find out what is germane to your ground, what is germane to your calling. And if you do that, you'll find yourself smack dab in the middle of purpose. And there's no greater place to be than in the will of God.
Amen. And that is the way we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for your time. I am so grateful that you made time out of your schedule for us, and I look forward to having you back. I look forward to being able to support you all. Where can we find you on the internet, or if people are in the local area? Tell us how to reach you.
Great. Well, first of all, Tawana, I want to thank you and the BLC audience for having me. It has been a great experience. You are a dear friend, and we appreciate all that you and your husband and family is doing for us as well. If you're in the Atlanta area, we are located at 1839 Powder Springs Road in Marietta, Georgia. That's 1839 Powder Springs Road, Marietta, Georgia. Services are Sundays at 10:45, and you want to do yourself a favor, don't meet me there, but beat me there. If you're on the World Wide Web, you can find us at www.thelifechangers.org. That's www.thelifechangers.org.
Well, everybody, I'll make sure that I have all that information below the video, so you don't worry about your pen and paper. We got it right there for you. Just scroll down and you'll see it. And we'll also make sure that if you have any questions that you cannot reach him, send us an email, inquire, and we'll make sure we have, submit whatever information you want from him. We'll get it to him. So don't worry about it. We got you. So thank you again, Pastor Sherman Scott. And tell your wife I said hello, and I look forward to having you guys back.
Thank you so much, Tawana. Have a blessed day.
You too.
To build them up, to tell them, no, don't do it that way. Go this way. Then you need some people on the same level with you. You need some friends that you can hang your head down with, that you can go out with. But then the third and final relationship that every man and every person needs is someone to pour into. And you're really not whole until you have those three types of relationships. Someone